Thank you so much, David, for making time with us this afternoon. How are you? How's the UK?
I'm all right. Thank you very much. Everything is okay here. Only that I'm sitting in my car and probably from time to time you might hear some noises in the background. There's
I
other
can
cars
see
behind
that, but
me
that's
and
fine. I'm sure we
around.
can get something done. So, David, I want us to,
Okay.
to go through the process. You are a Zimbabwean who's based in the UK. When did you go
Yeah.
to the UK? How long have you been there for?
Well, I came over to the UK in 1991. Well, a few years ago, really. I'm not that well. I haven't been here for that long, but I left the UK in 1991, hoping to get a job in the. So I left Zimbabwe in 1991, hoping to get a job in the UK. But well, it didn't happen that way. So that's how I ended up who I am today.
And I understand that you were actually a journalist. You were hoping to get a job in journalism.
That's correct. Yeah, that's why I came to the UK. Besides hoping to get a job in journalism, I thought I could further my education in journalism and maybe go, well, either practice journalism in the UK or elsewhere. But that was my ambition.
So I would like to know at what point did the idea of actually farming and you are in a foreign land and then you think, wow, let me farm. How was that process for you? How did that idea come about?
It's difficult really to pinpoint to say at this stage. I said, let me be a farmer. It's a quite a number of things that led me into farming in the UK. One of the things that I really have to say first led me into farming is that I grew up in Zimbabwe eating white maize like most of you back home do. But then when I came to the UK, white maize wasn't known. Nobody knew what white maize was. And I kept hoping that one day I'll bump into someone selling white maize in the country. It never happened that way. So after some years, I thought, what if I try growing white maize in my back garden like everyone does in Zimbabwe? And that's really how it started. It didn't even work when I first did the trials. First year, it didn't work. Second year, I got some encouraging results, but it didn't work either. It took me something like 6 years for me to get a crop that I thought from here I could move on to be a commercial farmer. But for the first 6 years, I was just doing trials in my back garden.
So I'm interested to know where you actually got the seed to start planting white maize, since you said that it wasn't even accessible in the UK.
Yeah, well, I started with the seed from all over the world, and whatever seed of white maize I came across, I would try it in my back garden, and that's how really I started. Until I got to a point of stumbling into a variety that I could reasonably grow to maturity in the country.
So what could be the reason why it was failing initially? Is it that you didn't have the right seed, or the
Um,
climatic conditions were not
yeah,
ideal, or was it the soil?
yeah, the
What did you find that was
yeah.
making it hard for you to actually get it right in a period of 6 years?
Yeah. Well, it's not much to do with the soil, but much to do with the UK climate. The UK is pretty cold compared to most countries where maize is grown, in particular white maize. White maize is a bit different from yellow maize. Yellow maize do tolerate the cold temperatures to an extent, but white maize really need so much heat. As a result, when I was doing my trials, because I wanted white maize anyway, it was so difficult to get a crop out of the varieties that I was using. And then at the same time, the UK is different from, let's say, Zimbabwe. If you're in Zimbabwe, you can grow maize, white maize, or yellow maize anywhere in the country. The UK is a bit of a stretch of a land from the southern part of the country to the northern part. The northern part, where is Scotland, is pretty cold. You just can't grow maize there anyway. So if I were in Scotland, no matter how much I would have tried, the result would have been the same. You can't do it. But then the good thing is I was in the southern part of the UK, which is in London. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit hot where I am. I'm cooking in a car, and I do want to put the aircon on, but then I just lower the window to a bit. Yeah, so I was in the southern part of the country, that's London, and I did to some extent manage to get something growing there compared to if I were in the northern part of the country, that's Scotland. So it's a question of temperatures. If you're thinking about growing maize, it's not a question of I've got a piece of land here, I can grow maize, and which is what it is in Zimbabwe or in the southern hemisphere or somewhere where it's warm enough. Here is a question of it's really try and error. In some cases, you can manage to grow maize. In some cases, you probably can't, depending where, which part of the country you're in.
So how do you get it right now? I mean, the climate is the same. You are still in the UK, but now you have actually established Wanaka fresh farm food, and apart from white maize, you're growing a lot of other crops. So how are you getting it right, especially in that climate, like you indicated earlier?
Yeah, it's still extremely difficult to get it right because you are never assured how next year is going to be compared to this year. You could get it right probably. Yeah, well, on some years you have got 2 3 months of harvest. In some years you probably get half of that because if you do happen to have a dry or cold year, then it basically implies your crop matures a lot later than supposed to. So I can't really say I always do get it right. Some years it's difficult to get it right because I'm still dealing with the same climatic condition as was 15 or 20 years ago, and I'm also improving the varieties of maize I grow to a point where I actually employ a maize breeder to breed certain varieties of maize for me. I just don't buy from any breeder in the world. I actually employ someone, a company, to grow the variety of maize that I grow for me. So that's how difficult then it is to grow maize in the UK. It's not a question of I've got some seeds here and I've got a bit of land. Let me go for it.
So I would assume that you have a lot of technologies that you're using to actually make sure that you get the right crop and the right product. Because obviously by now you have a clientele that is expecting this product from you.
Yes, well, I would say part of what I do, which is what I've just said, is that I do employ a company to breed the maize for me, to breed the seed for me. Without, if I don't do that, then it's difficult to know whether I'm going to have a crop next year or not because it still comes down to the weather in the UK. It's so unpredictable. That's why they say is unpredictable as English weather. I mean, a few days ago it was extremely hot. At the moment, it's still hot, but I know the next few days it's gonna be cold. Not really cold, but it's gonna be cooler than it is now. But we're in summer right now, and it can change anytime really. So the biggest issue in the UK is weather. That's actually what limits farmers in the country as well to what crops they can grow. That's why actually when I came to the UK, they didn't know what white maize was. They had never heard of white maize. It was as a result of if anyone had tried to grow white maize before me, the they probably faced the same problems I faced, and they would have come to the conclusion that you can't grow white maize because it's cold. And I actually know, sorry, the there's a farmers organization in the UK. When I was trying to grow white maize in the UK, I called one gentleman who was the president of that organization, and he said to me, "Yeah, well, you can't grow white maize in the UK, and you're just wasting my time and your time as well." So he hung up. So after a while, I thought, "Oh, my dream is dead." But after a while, I thought, let me prove this guy wrong. So part of the reason why I started growing maize as well was I wanted to prove this guy wrong because he just he didn't have to hang up on me. He just needed to tell me, no, you can't grow wild maize in the UK, and that's it. So he hung up, and that really annoyed me. And I just thought, let me do something to prove him wrong. And the only thing I could do was grow wild maize in the UK.
That was actually going to be my next question, David, to say that obviously when you wanted to start this, you are the first Black farmer in the UK to actually grow and have a successful business with white maize. And I would
Yeah.
understand, I would assume that when you approach people and tell them like, hey, this is what I want to do, like you're saying, people would laugh at you. So who else did you approach somebody else? Because obviously you needed a bit of support to get this right? Are there any other people that you approached that eventually assisted you in making this a reality?
I sorry, it's a bit of noise here. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was the first few years. It was extremely difficult, and actually, I remember the first year when I had a crop. Right, I went to a part of London that's got so many blacks, and I thought when I get there, once I get to that area, because there are so many blacks, they're all going to uh, um, to buy the maize that I had. Unfortunately, not even one person bought the maize. One thing is they were not aware. They just thought, maybe, I don't know why they thought, because I told them I had white maize, and no one ever paid attention to me. So I sort of got discouraged again. That was actually the second discouragement from the first one, that this president of the Maize Association in the UK it actually hang up on me. Then the second thing is I had a crop, and then the customers were looking at the crop, and they didn't believe that it was true. I had white maize. So I had to think again. What next? Right? What can I do in order to sell my crop? It took me a while to advertise, to let the people in the United Kingdom know that I was growing maize, and it was indeed maize that was grown in the country, not imported. As much as you know that if you import white maize, it's got a shelf life of just 1 day. After a day, it turns into a lump of starch, and nobody wants it. So this thing with white maize is you got to pick it on the day, you got to deliver it on the day, and your customers have got to buy it on the same day and enjoy it on that very day. So that was one of the stumbling blocks that I had, that I couldn't go past this point where I had the crop, but I didn't know how to market the crop because people didn't know it was available.
This is Business Unusual. I'm Mona-Lisa Dube, and today we have David Mwanaka, who is the first black farmer in the United Kingdom to actually grow white maize, like he has been telling us. Now, David, at what point did people actually start taking you seriously? First of all, you had a whole 6 years of trial and error trying to get this right, and you tried to actually sell it to some of your black folks, like you said, and they didn't take you seriously. So, at what
Mm.
point did people actually start taking you seriously as a farmer in what you were doing?
Yeah, well, there were a few issues that came into place. One of them was there was a local Zimbabwean, there was a Zimbabwean free newspaper at that time. So I managed to advertise in that paper, and from that newspaper, I got quite a number of responses. So people just got to know that I was growing maize in the UK. And there were also a few other black online platforms that I managed to advertise my crop on. Some of them were Kenyan, West African. So from there, people began to know that I was growing white maize, and that's how really I started selling my crop.
So now you've grown. I understand that you now have like a company that you're running, and you have different stores in different parts of London. Tell us about the growth journey. How many stores do you have now? Where are you located, and how has business been?
Well, we only got two shops really. We got one in London, one in near Birmingham, West Midlands, and well, we hope to open more shops right across the UK. But at the moment, we only got two shops, and we've also diversified from growing just maize into other produce, and we have also the first farmer in the country to grow what is called white sweet corn. You probably don't know it. It's very popular in the USA and Canada and some other countries, but we don't know it in Africa. And I'm the first farmer in the country, actually, in the UK to grow that one. And I used to sell it in supermarkets, chain supermarkets like Sainsbury's, and top supermarkets like stores like Harrods. So that's one way we did diversify from growing just white maize. And we do also grow other crops, which if I were to tell you I grow them in the UK, you probably think, oh no, you're not serious. You
Tell
know
us
the
about them.
magaka. Don't if you know magaka, the what do you call jelly melon or African horn melon. You should know them anyway. Magaka, they turn yellow when they ripen. So I do grow those, and there's a bit of a market in the country for those. It's just not Zimbabweans actually. There are lots of people from other countries who eat jelly melon or kiwano melon or magaka, whatever you want to call them. So I diversified into growing those crops. They were not known in the country either, but bit by bit, people are getting to know them. And we are always on the forefront of growing new crops. And basically, I would say much of what I do, much of our success is from experimenting new things, growing new crops that have never been grown in the country. And I have to say, actually, I'm the first arable black farmer in the UK as well. Apart from being the first farmer to grow white maize or white sweet corn, I'm the first arable farmer in the country.
And you are a lot of firsts, David. I'd like to know, I'm curious to know, what sort of recognition have you gotten right now in the UK from all this work that you're doing and representing Zimbabwe as well? What sort of recognition do you have right now?
Yeah, the biggest recognition I have received is an invitation to Buckingham Palace by the Queen. So I had the opportunity to be invited there and to talk to her, to talk to members of the royal family. That I would say was really an achievement for me.
That's huge. You should share pictures of that, David. Please share pictures with us with your meeting with the Queen.
Unfortunately, they told me we're not allowed to take pictures, so I don't have any picture. What all I have is the letter, but I don't have any pictures.
No, that's fine. So how easy is it to access land in the UK, especially you being a foreigner and actually wanting to start a business? How was the process like for you? Was it easy? Is it something that you can recommend to other foreigners or Zimbabweans to say, hey, you can actually get land to farm in the UK? What is the process for you?
For me, it was extremely difficult because at that time, nobody could actually believe if you are black, you'll be seriously looking into farming in the UK. So I remember the first year I would go around in the countryside knocking on some farmers' doors, telling them I was looking for land to grow white maize. They simply didn't believe me. They actually thought I was up to no good. Uh, I mean, it wasn't the right way of maybe approaching them because then some of them had never seen a black person in the countryside. And then you knock on their door and say you're looking for a land to grow white maize. It was just like, who are you and where are you coming from? But fortunately, I did manage to place an advert. For me, that worked. I placed an advert in a newspaper, and again, someone was surprised why a person with a name like David Mwanaka was looking for land to grow white maize. There were so many things that raised his eyebrows. One was the name David Mwanaka. The second one, white maize. He didn't know what white maize was, so he decided to call me, and from there, I did an interview with him, and there was an article in one of the uh, top newspapers in the country. Then I had a few invitations to from a few farmers who had a bit of land here and there. So I viewed a bit of land in London and as far away as Wales, and from there I ended up settling in North London. So in I would have to say it's extremely difficult to get land as a black person in the UK. It's equally difficult for a white person who is not in the system because usually most farms in the UK are handed down from maybe the grandfather to the son and then to grandchild. So it's difficult for new entrants to a point where even the whites themselves they do have problems because for a start the UK is not as big as most countries, not the biggest, not even as big as Zimbabwe. I think so. So the land is so much in short supply.
So how I know that earlier on you mentioned to us that you have two stores right now in the UK. who are you supplying? Which supermarkets are interested in this white maize? And how is that going? Is it actually profitable for you as you are supplying this chain stores? I know that sometime in 2017, I think I was doing a bit of research about you. You did say that you want to have chain stores and to want to be able to supply a lot of restaurants. How is that vision going for you?
Yeah, well, we definitely would want to go back and supply the chain stores, and but at the moment we do have our shops, and then we do supply. We do have our own network where we do deliver right across the UK. We deliver from, if you know the UK, from Bournemouth in the south all the way to Scotland. We pick our crop on the day, and then we deliver on the day to all our customers in the UK. So that hasn't been a problem for us really. I mean, we are improving on a daily basis how we can deliver to our customers right across the UK. But then at the same time, of course, would want to expand. When it comes to the chain supermarkets in the country, I think we are interested in new products rather than, let's say, the white maize. White maize has got a problem in the sense, like I've said before, it's got a shelf life of 1 day. If you do sell that to a supermarket, they would want something that will last for a few days on their shelves. But if it's just for a day, then it's a bit of a problem to them. But for us, it's not a problem distributing to our customers across the country because we have done it before and we are improving every day. And I think we should be in a position in the next few years to even do better than what we are doing right now.
And how is the environment in the UK to do business, especially for a black man like yourself?
It's difficult, but then in difficult situations or in difficult times, you would have to work a lot harder than you normally would. But then it doesn't mean you can't do it. That's what I that's all I can say. If things are difficult, it means you just have to do it. You have to put more effort into it, and it's still possible. So for a black person, in general, it's I would say it's a challenge because then the environment itself is we don't have the history of black people or black businesses running for the past 50 years or so in the United Kingdom. Most black businesses started within the last maybe 20, 30, at most 40 years. So people are also not even used to seeing black people running businesses in the UK because it never was something that was done in the past. So you would have to find your way of surviving in a difficult environment. Sorry, I need to open the windows again. I'm backing.
It's all right,
Yeah,
David.
I hope that
We
I hope you can
really
hear me. There are
happy
not
that you
too many.
spent time
There's
with
there
us.
isn't too
I know
much
that
noise
you're
outside.
rushing somewhere, and you made some time to chat with us. So, what role is your family playing in your business right now?
Yeah, my family is very helpful. Apart from recruiting workers who help us in the fields and in the shops, I would say every member of the family is involved in doing at least something. We do work together at the farm. We come home. There's always the paperwork to do. So I would say actually every member of the family knows what they are supposed to do. You're either at the farm or doing paperwork at home. But otherwise, we work as a family. I would have to say my family is very helpful in what we do.
And when you are employing people within the Mwanaka organization, are you deliberate to also get Zimbabweans?
We do have people from all over the country. To be honest with you, we've got Zimbabweans, we've got people from West Africa, we've people from South Africa, from India, Vietnam. We've got the locals as well, the white, uh, British. So I can't say we are selective in choosing who to work for us. Anyone who is capable, who has got the right qualifications can work for organizations.
Now, David, what sort of advice would you want to give? I know business, when you're
Oh,
dealing with
sorry,
businesses are
sorry,
very
I
risky.
can't hear you because there's so much noise in the background. Yeah, go on.
Business is a very high risk activity. You need a lot of commitment into doing it. You face a lot of rejection. Like you've said, people thought that your ambition, you were too ambitious, and your goal was ridiculous and could not be achieved. But here you are, the first black farmer in the UK,
Sorry,
with some of these projects
sorry, Lisa.
doing at Manaka Fresh Farm.
Sorry, let me just put.
What sort of advice um, would you
Sorry, I
want?
can't hear you. Let me just try to put the volume a bit high. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Let's try again. Hello?
Hi, David. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. I was saying that what sort of advice can you give to upcoming business people, whether in Zimbabwe or in either, any part of the world that they are in? So, because you have faced a lot of rejection and a lot of challenges in coming up with this business, what sort of advice would you give them?
The first advice I would give to anyone is if you've got a passion for something, yeah, go for it. I mean, apart from just the passion, you need to do a bit of research. Whatever project that you want to start, you definitely need to do a bit of research to know whether the market is there and whether you can supply whatever it is that you want to supply to the market. So it's a question of supply and demand, and also if you've got a passion to run that business or to run that idea. Because half the time people want to do something, but it could be just that they've seen someone else doing it and they think, oh, well, I could do it as well, but it's not in you. So, to me, the first and most important thing is have a passion for whatever you want to do. I always give people an example of, let's say, footballers or tennis players. I mean, no matter how cold it is, no matter how hot it is, you will find them out there practicing. It's not that they're enjoying it; they want to perfect their sport. They want the best out of whatever they are doing. But then something is pushing them to do whatever they are doing, irrespective of the fact that it's cold or it's hot, or whatever it is, or they are facing challenges. So whether there are challenges or no challenges, one thing is you need a passion for whatever you are doing. If you've got a passion for farming, yeah, then go for it. If you've got a passion for playing football, then we should see you out there, whether it's 50 degrees hot or it's minus 50 degrees, you should be out there practicing.
And it's interesting that you say that it doesn't mean that if the next person is actually doing or selling a certain product, it means you also have to do the same. You find that this is very common in Zimbabwe. You walk down the street or whichever shop, they literally are selling the same products, right? So I guess it's important, like you're saying, to make sure that the people that you're selling to uh, are interested in what you actually want. And
Yeah,
speaking of challenges, David, you highlighted the issue to do with challenges. We are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a global pandemic that has affected uh, everyone across the world. How has that impacted your business and how have you risen above it? Have you risen above it?
yeah, COVID-19 didn't affect our business that much, because actually at some point, so many people, because of lockdown, the only thing they could do was sit at home and eat. So, well, they had to visit our shops and buy as much as they could, and then get home and eat and do nothing. So, in a way, part of the problem was that we didn't even have enough supplies, rather than that it affected us negatively. But you mentioned another point there that in Zimbabwe, people are in the habit of just doing something that someone else is doing, which is really bad. I remember some years ago, I do come from the eastern part of the country. I come from Nyanga. So I was driving from Harare to Rusape. And then along the roads, we had so many people selling tomatoes. I mean, it's just like the road. We get to some places where the road is red on your left and on your right, it's red with tomatoes, and it's like it's a chorus. Everyone's saying tomatoes, 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 and I'm thinking, I'm driving one car, right? I can only buy from one person, and I've got more than 20 people selling the same product to one car. If even if I had £1 million on me or $1 million on me, I was just gonna buy from one person. So if those people were to use their brains and sell something else, if one was selling tomatoes, another one cabbages, someone else is selling maybe cucumbers, someone else is selling purples and something else different. I can spend my money on different things at the same place. So I can spend £100 or $100 at one location, provided the products were there. There were different products. But then I can't spend $100 on tomatoes. That's a problem that you have in Zimbabwe. We usually ask one another, hey, what's making money these days? And someone tells, oh, selling tomatoes. Yeah. So everyone goes about, buy tomatoes, sell tomatoes. Everyone is got tomatoes, here tomatoes, there tomatoes, everywhere tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. There is no one to buy some tomatoes because everyone's got them. So we need to come out of that and think. That's why I also mentioned we need to research. We need to know that we need to know what products are available and what products can actually give us an income, not just following what someone else is doing. You are following someone's dream. Someone's selling tomatoes and you're selling tomatoes as well. But then we then saturate the market to a point where no one wants the tomatoes because everyone's got them. It's just common sense that we simply don't use.
What other business advice do you have, David? You've spoken about research, you've spoken about being deliberate, you've spoken about passion. What other business advice would you give someone who's listening today?
What I would say, if you're in Zimbabwe, let me just take Zimbabwe for an example. Uh, the country is in a bad state to a point where whatever business you start, you probably make money. If you want to make toilet rolls, toilet tissues, you can make money in Zimbabwe. If you want to start any business, you can make money in the country. Reason being that most items are being imported. So if you can produce anything in the country, obviously, you then can sell that product too. No, you don't even have to think about exporting for now, but selling to your to other people in the country, selling locally. So though things are difficult in Zimbabwe, I would say that's where business is because there's nothing much going on. So that's where money is. When you look at countries like the UK, everyone is almost, I would say, the when it comes to new ideas, it's almost saturated because at least someone has thought of that idea before. Unless if you are thinking of something that's completely new that maybe you brought from another country. But in Zimbabwe, there is the opportunity to do anything because there isn't much going on.
But how would you respond to someone who'd argue to say, well, if it was really easy for you to start a business in Zimbabwe, why then did you leave for the UK?
Well, I left for the UK because I was working as a journalist. Actually, I wasn't a businessman in the country. I left the Zimbabwe thinking I was going to pursue my career as a journalist in the UK, which didn't happen anyway. But then, when then I look back, here I'm now looking back at the situation in the country. It's not like when I left, which was in 1991. But when I look back right now, I'm thinking there are so many opportunities in Zimbabwe. Actually, there are more opportunities in Zimbabwe than in most countries.
So speaking of exporting and imports, David, have you been able to export some of your products outside of the UK?
No, we haven't really thought of exporting. I mean, out of the UK. And also, when I talk of exporting, you are thinking which countries. I mean, for our white maize, we don't we don't think about exporting the white maize anyway because we will we will come into we will face the same problems I did mention before of being a crop that's got a life shelf of just 1 day, so we can't export that to another country. And also some of the crops that we do grow, they are grown in other countries, so there's really no need for us to think about exporting for now. Not to think that not to say that we're not going to think about exporting to other countries, most likely in the in the EU rather than in Africa.
As we wrap up, David, what are your plans for Mwanaka Fresh Farm Foods? What's next for you in the next, say, 5 years?
Well, we certainly do hope to occupy a bigger farm, and then we would uh, make it a place where most people from other countries, especially African countries, we haven't got the opportunity to go around in the countryside and see what's going on in the countryside. Will come and have a feel of what it is to be in the countryside in the UK, because most blacks in the UK, they're only in towns. So, and yet back home, wherever we come from, we are so much attached to what is in the rural areas where we come from. But then we came to the UK and life is all centered in the towns. And yet we still love to go out there in the countryside and have a feel of the countryside. So part of my vision is to take Black people who still want to have a feel of the countryside out there to have a feel of what they are missing in the country.
And when are you visiting us back home here in Zimbabwe?
Oh, a good question. Very soon. I can only say very soon.
Thank you, David. We look forward to having you when you visit here in Zimbabwe. David Mwanaka from Mwanaka Fresh Farms, first black farmer of white maize and other exotic products in the UK. We appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for setting me free because I've been begging in the car.